The BBC is apparently going to set targets not just for the number of people who are, well, they have to have women, whether you are ethnic minorities, whether you are transsexual, or whether you're gay, or I mean, any other thing you could possibly think of. The one thing they haven't had targets for until now is a proportion of working class employees. But after accusations that the broadcaster lacks diversity, not just of skin colour and sexuality, but of thought, they are now going to have, for part of their this year's workplace census, staff have been asked to declare whether they attended private schools, if they were eligible for free school meals, and what their parents did for a living. They're going to be used to set a meaningful target to take on more working class people. What does this tell you, Bobby Friedman, about what is going on inside the BBC?
It's very odd because the Tim Davie, the Director General, has tried to move it away from its woker aspects of BBC, and I'm not really sure what this will achieve. The BBC, I worked there for many years, as you know, Julia, is one of the most socially aware organisations, if I can put it like that. I don't think it is particularly an organisation that doesn't encourage people from ethnic minority backgrounds or from working class backgrounds, and rightly so. But I'm not sure it really needs to be a priority in an organisation that is already very aware of it. And I think ultimately they need to know, at a time when the BBC is justifying its existence, I know a lot of people don't agree with it. I think the BBC is a great institution. I think it feels like a bit of a distraction. OK, well, let's get the thoughts of Calvin Robinson, who's a Conservative commentator. Calvin, I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. I've always thought if you're setting a quota, if you're saying, look, we don't, by the way we interview and the way we get people jobs, we don't actually employ people who are ethnic minorities or gay or women or working class in this case. You're at that point surely admitting that you are, I don't know, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, racist, and it would appear now also classist and snobby as well. The BBC clearly doesn't think much of itself.
Well, there's no doubt it thinks these things because they keep going through this unconscious bias training, don't they? They've said by this point next year, 95% of their workforce will have completed mandatory unconscious bias training. And we know it's discredited, it's divisive, it's dangerous, yet they keep pushing it.
It's stupid. It's genuinely, it is based on this whole idea that you are full of unconscious biases. And when you say I'm not racist or I'm not sexist or transphobic, the very act of saying that is proof of your unconscious bias.
Which is why they keep coming back to identity politics. They still don't get it. They're saying, okay, so we need more working class people, as if all working class people think the same. And we're saying, no, you need more diversity of thought and opinion. Stop looking at people's characteristics as if that defines the way they think. They completely miss the point every single time. And yes, class is an issue, and we need to see a broader spectrum of class on the BBC because it has become a privileged metropolitan liberal elite groupthink. But that is not going to address the issue of everyone thinking the same, because how are they going to recruit these people? They're going to look for people that still think the way that they do.
Yes, and but they happen to come from a working-class background. I've just got this wonderful image of them sort of having people at every little corner of desks in the BBC. We can see those banks of desks when you look at the BBC newsroom. There's going to be someone in a cloth cap with a whippet. And they'll go, oh, look, there's our token working-class person. I mean, look, you'd have gone into the BBC as often as I have, and there's no doubt at all. And this is the same for every newsroom. These are highly desirable jobs. A lot of them, by the way, other than the big stars at the front. They don't pay well, but they're jobs that people want to do. And therefore, there's a lot of competition. And when there's a lot of competition, it ends up being very Oxbridgey, very sort of, Russell Group of universities. Once you're doing that, you're basically into the middle class getting the jobs. That is how it happens. And the middle class is largely white. And therefore, almost by definition, it happens that way. But I certainly remember John Humphreys, who came through newspapers, from local papers through the BBC, left school at 16, talking about, he was virtually the only person he knew at the BBC who hadn't gone to not just university, but Oxbridge.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's some polling that came out yesterday from the Henry Jackson Society that showed that nearly half of Black Britons think that the BBC is politically activist. And that tells me that even across the spectrum that the BBC has been overrepresenting, they're still not looking at thought and opinion.
Also, what are the other half watching if they don't think that?
Well, they're probably not watching the BBC. That's probably why.
Well, that's the thing. But again, it's this idea. I'm always fascinated by the idea of quotas. And I feel the same way about quotas about, working class, black people, transsexuals, or whatever it is, as I do about women. Quotas for women in the boardroom. I think whenever you have quotas, if someone has said, I got my job here because I just ticked a box as a woman, I'd be absolutely horrified. I don't think it does the people who may or may not be underrepresented by giving them a job because, I mean, should anyone have a job because of the pigmentation in their skin, because of the job their parents did for a living, because of their sexuality, who they want to have sex with, or because of their reproductive organs? It seems to me to be utterly bizarre to give jobs on that basis.
Exactly. If I was offered a job at the BBC because of the colour of my skin, I'd feel patronised and embarrassed. And I think the people around me would probably resent me for it. Yeah. But look at the quotas that they're saying. They want 50% women. Understandable. 20% BME.
No, it's not. No. It should be. But what if there aren't the same number of women who want to do those jobs as men? Why should women be overrepresented then?
But this is the point I'm getting to as well with the 20% of BME, when, 12% of the country are BME. They want to overrepresent these workforces, but also they're looking at the figures as if these numbers will make the diversity increase. And I don't want to see more brown faces that think like the metropolitan liberal elite. I want to see more people that represent my views on the BBC, centre-right. I never see that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely extraordinary. It's the fact that they think this is the solution. It just totally shows they don't get it. If you think this is the answer, you haven't understood the question, I think is the key thing. Calvin Robinson, their Conservative commentator, really appreciate that. Any more thoughts on that, Bobby Friedman? Because I mean, it is absolutely fascinating. I think an awful lot of people, I know a lot of women find the idea of quotas very demeaning and insulting. But again, this is particularly this idea of working class people. Why aren't they hiring working class people already?
Well, I think there are working class people at the BBC. I mean, there certainly were plenty when I was there, and it was encouraged. I mean, there is a wider problem in society. Obviously, if you're talking about what is, as you say, firstly, generally a badly paid job, but a kind of liberal metropolitan job. So it's often, there's a reason why I'm not working at the BBC anymore, because I couldn't afford it. So I went off and got a job as a barrister and I earned more money. So, I'm speaking as someone who didn't have that kind of thing behind me. It's very easy if you've got a rich spouse, if you've got family money, to stay in that kind of industry. The BBC already encourages people internally, if you are from a minority or if you're from a working class background. It's a very liberal place. People love that kind of thing. That's not where the problem is. The problem is a structural one, where that in the industry and the types of jobs that you have, and ultimately it's really only a certain section of society who can end up doing it.
Yeah, and again, it's getting access. It's that getting the work experience. And I'm absolutely gutted. We had 3 people who come from very ordinary backgrounds who wanted to come and do work experience on this show. Hey, always happy to torture someone else getting up at 4:30 in the morning. And we've just not been able to get people in the building. We're only allowed the skeleton staff in, and it's really massively going to hit opportunities for people on that basis.